He's a talentless boy who transfers to a school of elites and ends up living with three genius sisters while trying to fulfill his mother's final wish. The story begins with a painfully average boy named Yu who gets transferred to the Psycha Academy of the Elites only because his mom happens to be a legendary prodigy who graduated from there. He steps in a boxing ring and gets absolutely wrecked by the vice captain of a martial arts club who calls him a pathetic weakling. Seeing his poor performance, the crowd doesn't hold back either, tossing insults left and right, wondering how someone this clueless could possibly be the son of Sabera Ace. He gets back on his feet, trying to fire himself up with memories of his late mother, whose beauty and acting skills were admired across the globe. Sabera was so gifted that she graduated at the top of her class from a prestigious international university. His opponent, in a strange twist of encouragement, tries to stir something inside you, claiming that the school's three royals are waiting to witness the hidden power within him. But Yu keeps insisting that he's never been into sports or received any kind of training. Yet everyone continues to dump their expectations on him. Frustrated, he yells out the obvious truth that he's not his mother and charges straight at the trainer in what looks like a dramatic burst of untapped power. The crowd braces themselves, expecting something huge, only for you to land a couple of soft pokes that don't even make the trainer flinch. The trainer dude gets angry and slams our guy straight into the ground, making it painfully clear once again that Yu is nothing more than a disappointment. Everyone who had placed their hopes on him gets smacked in the face with cold, hard reality. But this isn't anything new for Yu. He's been carrying this weight since the moment he showed up in the world. He then smirks and throws a jab at the trainer, tossing out some half-cooked line about how the more average someone is, the more they obsess over talent like it's some holy grail. For a second, the trainer catches this strange spark in Yu's eyes, a familiar intensity that mirrors the gaze of a top-tier actress. He realizes that Yu probably failed to walk away with Sabera's skills, but there's no denying he ended up with her looks. Still, the trainer shakes it off as Yu turns to walk away. Right then, his sidekick comes rushing over, reminding him that the royals are watching this rookie like hawks. That little reminder finally pushes him off the deep end, and now he decides he's just going to beat the talent into him, lifting his arm to deliver one last brutal move meant to whip you into shape. But just before the punch can land, an orange-haired fighter storms in from out of nowhere and sends the trainer flying, calling him a complete disgrace to martial arts for picking a fight with amateurs. Everyone in the dojo calls her captain, right? Then, a blue-haired and a green-haired lady strut in like they're crashing a concert, demanding to know how the actress's son did on the test. The blue-haired one is Kazuki, famous enough that her show tickets vanished before they even hit the shelves. The green-haired one is Miwa, the youngest title holder in shogi, because apparently some people peak before puberty. As for the orange-haired fighter who jumped in earlier, it turns out she's Nico from the athlete program, a martial arts champ with a flawless record and an ego to match. The crowd loses its screaming because these three drama queens are none other than the school's so-called three royals. Kazuki steps forward and demands to know how well Sabera-san did in the test, hoping they could squeeze a fourth royal out of him. But the trainer dude shoots the down by calling the boy a mediocre noob whose talent probably registers in the negative. The three hotshot ladies tell our boy flat out that there's no use for someone like him at their school. Yu pulls out a shiny paper and tells them he couldn't care less because he has already made up his mind to join the general education program. The three ladies look like they've just heard a myth because none of them even knew their school had such a thing. And before the boy can walk out of there with whatever dignity he has left, he ends up being dragged into cleaning the dojo since losers apparently scrub floors. By evening, when Captain Nico and her squad show up at the dojo for their training session, they all scream like they saw a ghost because the place is actually spotless for once. Apparently, the trash dwellers have never seen the dojo this freakishly clean. While heading back home, Yu quietly wonders how he has never once denied being a disappointment. Ever. Since he was a kid, he craved the kind of praise his mother used to get. But it didn't take long for him to figure out that while his mom was a walking prodigy, he was just some average nobody. As he tried every possible talent he could get his hands on, he slowly ended up pushing himself further away from his mom. There was this one drama she acted in where she played housewife. And even though that was way too low profile for someone of her caliber, both Yu and his mom adored the show. When his mother got hit with a terminal illness, the two talked about how their favorite favorite part of the show was the bit where each episode ends with a family dinner. That was the first time in years his mother opened up to him properly. And that's when you finally realizes she had always dreamed of having a family as warm and beautiful as the one in the show. Sadly, that little happy moment doesn't last too long, and the lady ends up kicking the bucket after asking her son to go and find himself a happy family. The boy packs his things, and while hoping to make up for everything he and his mother missed out on, he heads to Mikedono's place. The mansion's owner sends him the keys along with a note telling him he can sneak in whenever he wants. As he steps inside, he gets completely thrilled seeing how massive the place is. He starts wondering who this Mr. Madono even is, and just as he sits down to unpack his stuff, Nico shows up in full attack mode, desperate to knock out what she thinks is a burglar who broke into her house. Our guy tries explaining that he's not who she thinks he is, but the shabby lady ends up slipping and falling flat on the floor like a cutscene out of a cheap comedy. He takes this golden moment to mock her, throwing in that even prodigies hit the floor sometimes, then tosses a towel on her as if he's doing charity. Right then, Miwa and Kazuki show up and ask what this boy is doing in their house. And Nico's quick to point out he's clearly a burglar. As our hero tries to figure out why these royals are even here, he gets a call from Mikedono himself. The man asks if he's found the place and goes on to explain that his late mother was not only his friend, but also his benefactor, which is why he's now returning the favor. The shady mister then adds that he forgot to tell him that he has 3 daughters and tells the boy to get along with them. U-turns toward the sisters, remembering his mother's dying wish, and starts thinking that now he actually has to become a family with the 3 Mikedono girls. To him, this whole situation feels nothing short of a dream. Living with 3 gifted cuties sounds like a blessing from the heavens. The girl, however, don't look too thrilled about the arrangement, but since their dad's the one calling the shots, they have no choice but to play along. Still, the boy manages to pull himself together and properly introduces himself again, hoping to get to know them better, right? Then the boy realizes something terrifying. The entire mansion looks like a pig pen dressed up as a house, covered in mess everywhere. Apparently, Kazuki was in charge of the dishes, but she made some half-baked excuse about not having time. In truth, she did try, but ended up breaking every single dish and gave up in frustration. Meanwhile, Miwa and Nico were supposed to handle the laundry and cleaning, but judging by how they look and move, they seem like the kind of disasters that need cleaning themselves. After getting roasted right where it hurts, the ladies quickly switch gears and start dragging our boy by bringing up how he barely managed a miserable on the aptitude test. Though he doesn't let that slide and mocks them by correcting it to while the 3 of them keep bickering and throwing around useless complaints. They glance around and slowly notice that everything is suddenly shining like a 5-star hotel lobby. Turns out, while they were busy running their mouths, the boy had already turned into some sort of cleaning wizard. The next morning, our boy wakes up hoping to get to know the ladies better over breakfast since there's no school today. He plans to rest up a little, but that idea dies quickly thanks to nonstop earthquakes, shaking the whole place, which turns out to be Nico casually splitting tiles with her bare fists in her personal dojo. After witnessing that madness, he heads over to check on the others. Miwa's busy playing shogi and arguing with an AI, while Kazuki looks like she's running a drug lab, tossing random stuff into a blender and making a suspicious milkshake that might either poison someone or kill them outright. When he asks what she's doing, Kazuki mocks him and says it's just their version of a morning routine, the same way people like him need to brush their teeth and do other basic stuff. As he tries suggesting dinner together, the eldest Mikedono daughter tells him to handle the house since they'll all be out with packed schedules and rehearsals. He then turns to Mia to invite her for breakfast, but she's already downing juice, probably fueling her brain with all the sugar it needs. Feeling crushed, the non-prodigy in a house full of geniuses walks to the kitchen, thinking how it's just like it used to be with his mom, who only ever cooked for herself, proving just how self-centered prodigies can get. He wonders how he failed to connect with his own family, yet somehow thought he could pull that off with complete strangers. Just when he sits down to enjoy breakfast, Nico walks in. Though she clearly wants to eat all the neatly baked food, she controls herself and claims it's an unbalanced meal for her. He starts licking the food to tempt her, but she loudly complains about the excessive carbohydrates and lipids, adding that she still needs at at least more grams of protein along with vitamin B. You find it ridiculous how someone needs to calculate nutrients before eating. Miko explains that for her, eating right is just as important as training. As the girls get ready to leave, he remembers how his mother used to follow different diet plans depending on the type of shoot she had. When the ladies rush out toward the gate in a hurry, he suddenly appears behind them and says they've forgotten something that instantly sends a chill down their spines, and they begin checking everything in panic while arguing over what's missing. But he only meant to wish them a good day. Even though they find it unnecessary, the girls end up blushing on their way to practice and somehow feel a little happy about it. Meanwhile, Yu moves on to doing the dishes, and in the middle of, he receives a call from the shady Mr. Madono. The man informs him that he won't be around much due to his responsibilities, which basically leaves you stuck alone with the three girls. The uncle then asks him for a favor, saying he should support his daughters since they'll soon be facing their own hurdles. According to him, simply being there for them would be enough to help them open up. His future father-in-law goes into detail that each of the sisters has their problems to go through. Firstly, Kazuki has an upcoming audition. Nico will fight for the top spot in the Karate Nationals, and Miwa has to fight for her title in a shogi match. Hearing that his chances of smashing will skyrocket if he is successful in helping the girls out, Yu gets really excited and hangs up. After taking a deep breath, Yu wonders what someone useless like him can even help them with. With the physique of a chihuahua and the brain power of a vacuum cleaner, he doubts he can help prodigies who don't take a minute off, even on the weekends. However, that's when it hits him that if they fail, they will be called failures just like he's been his whole life, and to make sure that doesn't happen to them as well, he swears he will never let them suffer. He begins by going out on a journey to understand each of the girls to win over their hearts with wholesome family dinners. As the sun sets, Nico gets back home from training, looking all depressed when her heart suddenly pops out of her chest because she completely forgot she has a man-slave living under the same roof. He takes a bit of the soup out of the pot and charmingly licks it up like holy nectar, making Nikiko go doyoki, and then offers her to taste his cooking for herself. But she smugly shoots him down and says she doesn't need his extra creamy stuff because she brought her own. After finishing her bath, she steps out looking like a queen, only to find the little guy deep in the zone, cooking up something so good even the rock smells it from across the street. He goes through dozens of recipe books and locks in every detail to craft the ultimate dinner. Watching him go so hard, even after she brushed him off earlier, seriously gets under Nico's skin. Just then, Miwa walks in and Yu grins like a proud chef, announcing he's about to serve soup so good it will curl her toes. Seeing him act like a complete dork, the girls assume he's just running his mouth again. That's when Nico remembers the old days when the sisters had a private chef cooking 5-star meals with premium ingredients. But even 5-star refused to eat that fancy slop because it seriously lacked nutrients and she only eats what's good for her body. Later that night, the redhead is in her room chugging down Taco Bell like a starving African when curiosity finally wins her over. So she sneaks into the kitchen, sees Yu isn't there, and spots a fine feast waiting on the table. That's when Yui jumps out from behind and hits her with a surprise nutrition attack and drops facts like the meal's packed with protein, vitamins, and minerals more than enough to get ripped, plus his secret sauce to help it all go down smooth.